Good morning. You guys, can you hear me? How are we doing today, children? Doing good? Well, I'm here to preach to you this morning, but I have a few questions for everyone. How many of you have been paying attention these last few Sundays? All right, keep those hands up. I'm bringing over a microphone, all right? I see your hands going down really fast. All right, let's see. All right, so these last few Sundays, we talked about what? Can someone summarize maybe what I preached, what Vadim preached? Okay, I see your hand. What do we talk about?
Поважати Бога
Yes,
і людей.
absolutely. Very nice, very nice. Okay, and anyone else? What do we talk about? Great. All right, so we talked about respect. Our whole theme has been respect. So I talked about respecting God the very first Sunday, and I promised I would be here 3 in a row. But if you were here last Sunday, I was not here last Sunday. And I have an explanation. If you can go to the next slide. So we with the teen ministry, with everyone that we have, high school nights, Bible studies, we decided to have a retreat, a teen ministry retreat. And so we went to Lake Tahoe. We got a cabin in Lake Tahoe, and something happened during our trip. So if you can see the wheels of a truck, there's a part of a truck, it snowed in on us. The snow was coming and coming and coming, and Highway 80, Highway 50, everything shut down. We weren't able to go. We tried one way, we tried the other way, but I wasn't able to make it. So luckily we have a very understanding pastor. I called him at 11:30 on Saturday night to preach on Sunday morning, and he did it. So on his birthday too, I called him. So today we're going to talk about the third thing in our respect series. So we're going to talk about respecting people. Okay? How many of you know what people are? You are all people. You guys should all have your hands up. So we're going to talk about respecting people. And how do we respect people? So I want you to think about your teachers at school. I want you to think about your parents. I want you to think about maybe a boss. Maybe in movies you see a boss, you see somebody really powerful. How do people respect them? They want to serve them. For me, in my situation, I have a boss. And when I come to the boss, I really respect my boss. And I say, hey, what can I do for you today? What project do you want me to work on today? I want to serve him. That's my way of showing my respect to him. And so there's many ways we can show respect to people, but I wanted to talk about how we can serve others. That's how we can show respect to people, because no matter what age you are, if you're really small, maybe 4 or 5 years old, or if you're 60, 70, 80, 90, we can all serve and show respect to others by serving people. So I want to read a Bible story. If we go to the next slide, I kind of want to talk about Jesus being a really good example of serving others. And a lot of you know the story of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. So I want to go ahead and read that passage for you today from the Bible. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to discuss that a little bit. So I'm reading from John chapter 13, verse 4 to 35. And I'm only going to go to 17 in the interest of time. So John 13, 4 to 17. Here we go. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. No, said Peter, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. Then, Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. Jesus answered, those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you. For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? And this is where it gets really good. This is what we're going to discuss here. He asked him, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. So Jesus washed their feet, and he said, now that I've done that for you, you go wash everyone else's feet. So he's saying kind of go serve others the way I have served you. So verse 15, I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you have these things, you will be blessed if you do them. So what happens here? Jesus is washing the disciples' feet. Now these feet were not the cleanest feet. So thinking back to biblical times, everyone walked everywhere. Everyone walked. You cannot jump into an Uber, a Lyft. It was more of a donkey. You jump on a donkey. So you walked everywhere. And Jesus knew this, and everyone's feet were really dirty. Think about if you go camping. Think about if I told you we're going to go camping, you could only walk barefoot, and you only walk barefoot in the camp. Your feet are going to be really dirty. So this is kind of the situation here. The disciples were traveling around. Jesus takes them to a house, and he wants to wash their feet. So the feet were not the cleanest. And this was the ultimate lesson to us, that we need to serve others. And Jesus talks about how everyone is, we need to have that mindset. And he says in verse 16, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. So he's saying that a servant, a master, no one's greater. A servant, a messenger. Do you guys know what messengers are? So back in old times, a messenger would deliver a message for a ruler. So if I was a king, if you were a king, you would say, go talk to the other king. And you would send a message, and it would be delivered by person. And that person would travel from one country, one kingdom, one piece of land. Maybe it could be overseas. It could be just across a desert. They would travel, and they would deliver this message. So that's what a messenger is. And Jesus is saying, no messenger is greater than the ruler. So he's saying everyone's equal. And that's what he's doing here. So we need to have that mindset if we want to serve others. Serving others, it's a very hard thing. And the reason it's hard is a lot of people think that they're better than others. They think that they're correct. They think that nothing they say is wrong. And that's not what Jesus is showing us here. Jesus is showing us that we're on the same level. We need to serve others. We need to have that mindset. And so today we're talking about respect. To respect other people, I think the biggest way that's applicable to everyone, all ages, is to serve other people. Next slide. So I want to read one more part in the Bible. So 1 Peter verse 4, chapter 10. You might ask yourself, I have a question here at the very top. How can I serve people? Oleg, I'm 75 years old. I'm listening right now in a translation. How can I serve people? Maybe I'm a child right now. Maybe I'm 6 years old sitting here. How can I serve people? How can I have that mindset? Well, Jesus gives it to us in 1 Peter verse 4:10. It says, each of you should use whatever gift you have, whatever. And I like that word because it keeps it very open. Any gift that you have, receive to serve others. As faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms, Jesus served the disciples and wanted to show them that we are servants. So here I highlighted and kind of read, whatever gift you have. You might be 5 years old here right now, and you say, what gift do I have, Oleg? Well, let me give you some examples, something you can apply in your lives so that you can respect others, you can serve others. So how many of you, your moms pack your lunch? A lot of you, your moms pack your lunch. So let's say you're going to go to school on Monday, tomorrow's a holiday. Maybe you have the whole week off. Lucky you, it's not like that forever. So maybe you go back to school and your mom packed you a really nice, yummy lunch. You have fruit snacks, you have water, you have goldfish, you have sandwiches, you have everything. And you see somebody next to you who maybe doesn't have snacks, maybe they don't have a lot of food. So there's an opportunity for you to serve someone. There's an opportunity for you to show them respect, show them that you, like Jesus showed us washing the feet, he got down, King of all kings. Jesus, who came down on this earth to die for our sins, he got down and washed the disciples' feet. So maybe you are sitting there with a nice lunch at school and you see someone who doesn't have a lunch and you can give them some of your lunch, and that's you serving someone. Maybe you play with your friends soccer during lunch. Maybe you on breaks, during recess, you play basketball, and you see that there's always that one kid who doesn't play or he doesn't go well with other kids. Maybe you can serve by inviting him to play with you. So those are reasons that we at this age can serve others. And maybe if we're a little older, maybe we have opportunities, maybe we have resources, whether it's financial, whether we have maybe a home, maybe we have a car, and we can serve others. Maybe we're in the youth and someone needs a ride to come to church. That's something very simple. Maybe you want to pick someone up on the way to Bible study. So there's many ways that we can serve people. I just listed 4 or 5 for you. So to show respect to others, we can serve them. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I have a good example of this from my personal life. I like to share my personal stories. So about 13 years ago, we were driving from church. We were driving from church and our car broke down. How many of you have seen cars on the side of the road before? You've seen cars? What do you think? You kind of think, oh, bad day for them. All right, I got to get home. And so we were driving and our car broke down, and we had a minivan. And I remember this distinctively. And we were right here on Greenback Lane, here on the left side. And we were just stopped on the side of the road. And we used to live right here in Orangevale, so we were about 2 miles away. And it was nighttime and it was cold. And I remember being about 13 years ago, 10 years old. And I was sitting there in the back. I was scared. I was scared someone was going to come and attack us. You know, I watched too many movies when I was younger. But I remember sitting there and a car pulled up. Someone stopped. And I remember it was a Volkswagen Bug. It was about an older one, maybe 1980, 1990. And a gentleman gets out, and he's about a bigger build. He has a leather jacket on. He has a beard. He had a hat on, and I remember all of this. And he walked up to our vehicle, and I see my dad smiling. He remembers this too. And he asks us, what's going on? How can I help you? He said, I'm on the way home from church, and maybe the Spirit, maybe something inside of me said, stop, help this family out. And so he stopped, and we lived about 2 miles away. And so my dad went with him to the house. We came back, pulled the broken car, tied cables, and we drove home. And we were safe. I was happy. We had help. It's tough sitting in a cold car for a long time. But 13 years have gone by. 13 years. Some of you aren't even 13 years old. And I remember this example. I remember what the person was wearing, what kind of car they were driving, because he made an impact on my life. He didn't even know. He was helping out a 10-year-old in the back seat, not even knowing what's going on. He didn't even know that. I would still remember to this day. But Jesus calls us to serve others. He calls us to respect others. And like in that story that we read, where Jesus got down and he washed the disciples' feet. He served them. And I bet they remember that for the rest of their life. And we still talk about that story. And in my life, when that gentleman helped us out, I remember that to this day. So what you can do when you respect others, when you serve others, something small, maybe giving them your lunch, maybe talking with them if they have no friends, hanging out with them during recess, that could help them out 10 years, 15 years down. I bet you they're going to remember you. And we have those opportunities all around us. No matter what age you are, you can always serve others. And that's what Jesus calls us to do. We want to have that mindset like Jesus. Jesus is a perfect example to us of what we need to be like. Not to think that we're better, not to think that we're better dressed, not to think that we have more than others, but to be on the equal level, the way Jesus was showing in his life to serve others. So next slide. So how do we apply this in our lives? So you're going to walk through these doors at about 11 o'clock, and how do you apply this in your life? And I gave you some great examples, so I just want to summarize. We need to respect others. We need to respect people. Today we talked about respecting people and how we can respect those people. And the biggest thing is serving others. So my challenge to each one of you today, this week, maybe the next few weeks, if you remember, to serve others. And I'm a true believer. If you pray to God to have those opportunities given to you, whatever age you are, you can be sitting here, 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 here. Pray to God to give you an opportunity to serve others. I'm a firm believer that God will open that up to you, and you will have that opportunity. So applying it to our lives, when you go back to school, when you go back to the playground, maybe even today after church, I want you to remember this sermon, that we need to respect other people by serving other people. Okay? Promise me you'll do that? All right, let's go ahead and pray. Amen.